The pharynx. This pink color, light red or the brownish color, and here it is the blue color is the pharynx. Pharynx divided into the three parts: naso, oro, and the laryngopharynx. It extends from the base of the skull to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. Here this is the oropharyngeal isthmus, epiglottis, vallicula, tongue, sublingual region. During the if there is a incoordinations of the nerve supply, there is a increased pressure in the pharynx, which causes the formations of the mucus diverticulum, and this mucus diverticulum it will herniate posteromedially from the weak part of the pharynx. The weak part of the pharynx is the dehiscence of the Killian, and it press the lower part.
Esophagus.
Continuation of the pharynx is the esophagus, so it presses the esophagus, leading to the dysphagia. This whole conditions it is named as the, or that mucus diverticulum it is named as the Zenker's diverticulum or the pharyngeal pouch. Its complication is it causes the difficulty in swallowing or the dysphagia. Palatoglossal arch containing the palatoglossus muscle. Yes. Now the posteriorly, it is by the, see, posteriorly the oropharynx it is supported by the C2 and the upper part of the C3 vertebra. C2 and the C3 vertebra. So these are the boundaries of the oropharynx. Superiorly, above is the soft palate and the pharyngeal isthmus. Below is the posterior one third of the tongue, vallicula, median and the lateral grossoepiglottic fold. Posteriorly is the C2 and a part of the C3 vertebra, and anteriorly the wall is deficient and bounded by the oropharyngeal isthmus, and you know what is the boundary of the oropharyngeal isthmus. See, the lateral wall of the oropharynx, it presents the two folds. One is the anteriorly is the palatoglossal arch. Palatoglossal arch or the palatoglossal fold containing the palatoglossus muscle, and posteriorly is the palatopharyngeal arch containing the palatopharyngeus muscle. Palatopharyngeus muscle. And in between the palatoglossal arch and the palatopharyngeal arch, there is presence of the fossa named as the tonsillar fossa, which lodges the palatine tonsil. Palatine tonsil or the tonsil. So what is the boundary of the palatine tonsillar fossa or the tonsillar sinus? Anteriorly is the palatoglossal arch, posteriorly is the palatopharyngeal arch. Base it is formed by the posterior one third of the tongue, and apex formed by the soft palate, where there is fusion of the palatoglossal arch and the palatopharyngeus arch. The lower attachment of the palatoglossal arch, where does it attach?
At the
Superior
junction,
base of the uvula. Inferiorly it is attached in
junction of anterior two-third and posterior.
at the third of the tongue. Now the next is the laryngopharynx. Third part is the laryngopharynx, also called as the hypopharynx, epipharynx, nasopharynx, then mesopharynx, oropharynx, and the hypopharynx is the laryngopharynx. So it lies behind the larynx. Laryngopharynx lies behind the larynx, and it extends from the upper border of the epiglottis to lower border of cricoid cartilage. Vertebral level is the C3 to C6. C3 to C6. So anterior wall, in the upper part it is open, and the larynx communicates with the laryngopharynx via the inlet of larynx. And in the lower part of the anterior wall, it is bounded by the posterior surface of the arytenoid and the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. You know, on the posterior wall of the larynx, there is the arytenoids and the arytenoids cartilage and the lamina of cricoid cartilage line. Then posterior wall, it is formed by the C3, C4, C5 and the C6 vertebrae and the intervertebral disc. Lateral wall. Lateral wall. It presents the thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage. You know the thyroid cartilage, it is a V shape. Cricoid cartilage, it is a ring shape. Anteriorly, it is the smaller one, it is called as the arch. But the posterior is broad, named as the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. So the lateral wall, it presents the thyroid cartilage and the thyroid membrane. And on either sides, you know all these things because we have studied in the system. On each side is the laryngeal inlet. On each side of the laryngeal inlet, there is a deep fossa. This form fossa or the smaller pyriform fossa or the smaller fossa. So pyriform fossa, it is a small depression. It is present on either side of the inlet of the larynx. So what is the boundary of the larynx? This smaller fossa. Medially is the aryepiglottic fold. This is the aryepiglottic fold containing the aryepiglotticus muscle. Laterally is the lamina of thyroid cartilage and the thyroid membrane. Thyroid membrane. And it is pierced from lateral to the medial side by the internal laryngeal nerve and the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Because of that reason, when and you the importance of this pyriform point of the foreign bodies, fish bones, catch point. So during the removal of that foreign bodies, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Deep to it lies the internal laryngeal nerve and the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Valgus ring. Valgus ring. Pyriform fossa clear. Now the Valgus ring. So Valgus ring, it is a lymphoid tissue ring. It is a lymphoid tissue ring. It is present in the upper part of the pharynx. That is in oropharynx and the nasopharynx. Oro and the nasopharynx. Its main functions is the barrier to the foreign bodies or the microorganisms from the external environment to the upper part of the GIT. And it consists from superior to the inferior. They are the nasopharynx or the adenoid tonsil. Posterolaterally is the tubal tonsil. Anterolaterally is the upper of the palatine tonsil. And inferiorly is the lingual tonsil. So what is the function of these tonsils? It is a barrier to the infections or the foreign bodies from the external environment to the upper part of the GIT. Valgus ring is a lymphoid tissue ring which is present on the upper part of the pharynx in the naso and the oropharynx, and it is made up of from superior to the inferior is the nasopharyngeal tonsil, anterolateral is the palatine tonsil, posterolateral is the tubal tonsil, and inferiorly is the lingual tonsil. Now the structure of the pharynx. The structure of the pharynx, it consists of the four layers from outside inward. They are the areolar coat, muscular layer, soft mucosa, and the mucosa. Mucosa, it is lined by the lining epithelium. The lining epithelium of the mucosa, it is the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Hello? So, it consists of the four layers from outside inward. It is a areolar coat, muscular layer, soft mucosa, and the mucosa. So, mucous lining of the lining epithelium of the pharynx, it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Soft mucosa, it is thickened to forms the pharyngobasilar fascia. Pharyngobasilar fascia. Then muscular layer, it consists of the two layers of the muscles. Outer is the circular, inner is the longitudinal muscle. Outer is the circular muscle. That circular muscle, it is named as the constrictor muscle. Okay, in the muscular layer, it consists of the two layers, outer layer and the inner layer. Outer layer is the circular muscle. That circular muscle, it is named as the constrictor muscle. And the inner layer is the longitudinal muscle. Inner layer is the longitudinal muscles. So constrictor muscles, they are three in number. They are superior constrictor muscle, middle constrictor muscle, and the inferior constrictor muscles. Constrictor muscles are three in number: superior, middle, and the inferior. Their insertion it is common. They insert it in the pharyngeal raphe. Constrictor muscles insertion is common. They insert it at the fibrous raphe or the pharyngeal raphe. Pharyngeal raphe. This pharyngeal raphe it extends from the pharyngeal tubercle. Pharyngeal tubercle it is present on the occipital bone and it extends up to the upper border of the upper part of the esophagus. Upper part of the esophagus. So these three muscles they overlap with each other. They overlap with each other and there is a gaps are present in between these three muscles. Okay, these three muscles there is a presence of the gap and there is those gaps they transmit the nerves, vessels, and the muscles. Yeah, it is formed by the connective tissue of soft mucosa. Pharyngobasilar fascia it is formed by the connective tissue of the soft mucosa. And areolar coat it is made up of the loose connective tissue which forms mucosa lined by the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Soft mucosa thickened to forms the pharyngobasilar fascia. Muscular layer it consists of the two layers of the muscle. Outer is the circular muscle or the constrictor muscle. Inner is the longitudinal muscle. And areolar coat made up of the loose connective tissue which thicken to forms the buccopharyngeal fascia. Buccopharyngeal fascia. Superior constrictor origin. It is from the medial pterygoid plate, then the pterygoid hamulus, pterygomandibular ligament, and the posterior part of the mylohyoid line. Insertions of the constrictor muscle, it is common. It is in the pharyngeal raphe. Pharyngeal raphe. Middle constrictor. Its origin from the lower part of the stylohyoid ligament and the greater and the lesser cornu of the hyoid bone. Cornu of the hyoid bone. Lesser and the greater cornu of the hyoid bone as well as the lower part of the stylohyoid ligament. Its insertion is common, that is on the fibrous raphe or the pharyngeal raphe. Now the inferior constrictor. This inferior constrictor has two parts. Inferior constrictor has two parts. They are the thyropharyngeal part and the cricopharyngeal part. Because its origin it is from the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage. So it has the two parts, thyropharyngeus part and the cricopharyngeus part. So origin it is from the lamina of the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage. Insertion it is common, that is in the pharyngeal raphe. So the inferior constrictor has two parts. Those parts are the thyropharyngeus part and the cricopharyngeus part. Thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus. You are listening to me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the inferior constrictor has two parts. They are the pharyngeus part and the cricopharyngeus part. Thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus. So the junction of the thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus is the weakest part of the pharynx. Okay. At the junction of the thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus is the weakest part. It is named as the Killian dehiscence. Killian's dehiscence. K-I-L-I-A-N apostrophe S dehiscence. D-S-I-S-C-N-C. So what is Killian's dehiscence or the dehiscence of the Killian? So what do you mean by the Killian's dehiscence? K-I-L-I-A-N apostrophe S dehiscence.
Junction of thyropharyngeus and cricopharyngeus.
Junctions of the thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus. And it is the weakest part of the pharynx. Okay, weakest part of the pharynx at the junction of the thyropharyngeus and the cricopharyngeus. They are the part of the inferior constrictor muscles. That weak part, it is named as the dehiscence of Killian or the Killian's dehiscence. See here, this is the cricopharyngeus part and above is the thyropharyngeus part, and this junction it is named as the dehiscence of Killian or the Killian's dehiscence. This is the weak part, weakest part of the pharynx, because other parts they overlap with each other, so they are strong. But this part they are not overlap with each other, Because of that reason, it is the weak part. It is only bounded by the fascia. So this part, this weak part, it is named as the dehiscence of Killian, Killian's dehiscence. Now the functions of the constrictor muscles. See, this constrictor muscles helps to propel the food towards the esophagus. It has the propulsive action. Propulsive action. Constrictor muscles has the propulsive action and cricopharyngeus. This cricopharyngeus, you know the inferior constrictor muscles has the two parts, cricopharyngeus and the thyropharyngeus. Cricopharyngeus, it acts as a sphincter, whereas the thyropharyngeus, it helps in the propulsive action. Cricopharyngeus, it acts as a sphincter. Cricopharyngeus, it acts as a sphincter and it is closes all time except the deglutition. So during the deglutitions, because of the stimulations of the food, only at that time it opens. Otherwise, there is a there is a closed pharyngoesophageal junction. There is a closure of the pharyngoesophageal junction. Only when there is a food or the bolus of the food come, then there is a stimulation to the cricopharyngeus muscle and they will open to propel the bolus of the food downward towards the esophagus. On other times, in other times, they closes because the cricopharyngeus, they act as a sphincter. So its function is to prevent the air into the esophagus between the acts of the swallowing. So during the deglutition only air can enter the lower part of the GIT. Other times it is the pharyngoesophageal junction, it is closed by the fibers of the cricopharyngeus muscle. Understood? So this structure passing between the constrictors, it may be asked in the MCQ. So see, previously we told that the in between these three constrictor muscles there are spaces are present. So the space or the sinus present in between the superior constrictor muscles and the base of the skull, this gap it is named as the sinus of Morgagni. Sinus of the Morgagni, it is a space or the gap between the base of the skull and the upper border of the superior constrictor muscles, and it passes the auditory tube, levator velar palatini muscle, ascending pharyngeal artery, and the palatine branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. So in the MCQ, what structure is passes from the sinus of the Morgagni? It may be the auditory tube, levator velar palatini ascending pharyngeal artery, and the palatine branch of the ascending pharyngeal artery. So between the superior and the middle constrictor muscles, it transmits the stylopharyngeus muscles and the glossopharyngeal nerve. Stylopharyngeus muscle, glossopharyngeal nerve. Between the gap between the superior and the middle constrictor muscle. And between the middle and the inferior constrictor muscle, it transmits the internal laryngeal nerve and the superior laryngeal vessels. Internal laryngeal nerve and the superior laryngeal vessels. Between the inferior constrictor muscles and the upper border of the esophagus, it transmits the recurrent laryngeal nerve and inferior laryngeal vessels. What happened to Vikas Kesi? Huh? Why you are late? Vikas and Arun Yadav. So what structure passes through the sinus of the Morgagni? Auditory tube, levator velar palatini, ascending pharyngeal artery, and the palatine branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. Between the superior and the middle constrictor muscle, it transmits the two structures. They are the stylopharyngeus muscle and the glossopharyngeal nerve. Between the middle and the inferior constrictor, again two structures. They are the internal laryngeal nerve and the superior laryngeal vessels. Internal laryngeal nerve, superior laryngeal vessels. Below the inferior constrictor, it transmits the recurrent laryngeal nerve and the inferior laryngeal vessels. Now the longitudinal muscles. Inner is the longitudinal muscle. Outer is the circular. Outer is the circular. It is named as the constrictor muscle. Inner is the longitudinal muscles. And longitudinal muscles are also three in number. They are the stylopharyngeus, salpingopharyngeus, and the palatopharyngeus. Stylopharyngeus, salpingopharyngeus, and the palatopharyngeus. Their insertion it is common. Their insertion also common. They inserted at the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage. So stylopharyngeus, see name suggests stylopharyngeus. Origin it is from the styloid process. Insertion at the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. Salpingopharyngeus. You know the salpingopharyngeus. It arises from the auditory tube. Auditory tube, base of the auditory tube. It sends a two folds. One is the salpingo-palatine fold, other is the salpingo-pharyngeal fold. Salpingopharyngeus muscles, they blends with the palatoglossus muscle and the palatopharyngeus muscles. Here you have to write the palatopharyngeus muscles, and that palatopharyngeus muscles, it inserted at the posterior border of the cricoid cartilage. Palatopharyngeus muscles. It arises from the palatine aponeurosis base of the uvula and inserted at the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. So insertion it is common in case of the constrictor muscles and the longitudinal muscles. In constrictor muscles, their insertion is the pharyngeal raphe. In longitudinal muscles, they inserted at the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. What is the functions of the longitudinal muscles? It elevates the larynx and shortens the pharynx during the deglutition. During the deglutition, it elevates the larynx and shortens the pharynx. So, what is the functions of the constrictor muscles? Actions of the constrictor muscles? Anyone?
Propulsive.
Propulsive action. And the longitudinal muscles? It elevates the larynx and shortens the pharynx during the deglutitions or the swallowing. Now the nerve supply. Nerve supply again it is important. So muscles and the nerve supply it is important in the pharynx. So nerve supply. Sensory innervation. The nasopharynx, they are supplied by the pharyngeal branch of the pterygopalatine ganglion. Pharyngeal branch of the pterygopalatine ganglion. Oropharynx, glossopharyngeal nerve. Laryngopharynx, they are innervated by the internal laryngeal nerve. These are the sensory supplies. Nasopharynx via the pharyngeal branch of the pterygopalatine ganglion. Oropharynx by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Laryngopharynx by the internal laryngeal nerve. Motor supply. All muscles of the pharynx, they are supplied by the cranial part of the accessory nerve except the stylopharyngeus. That is stylopharyngeus supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Only the glossopharyngeal nerve, it only innervates only one muscle, that is the stylopharyngeus. Remember, stylopharyngeus, it is innervated by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and that glossopharyngeal nerve, it only innervates the stylopharyngeus muscle. So motor nerve supply, all the muscles, this constrictor and the longitudinal muscles, they are supplied by the cranial part of the accessory nerve via the pharyngeal plexus. You know how pharyngeal plexus is formed, and except the stylopharyngeus, which is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. In addition, the inferior constrictor muscles, it is also supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve and external laryngeal nerve. So motor nerve supply, all the pharyngeal muscles, they are supplied by cranial part of the accessory nerve via the pharyngeal plexus except the stylopharyngeus, which is supplied by glossopharyngeal nerve. See here, nasopharynx sensory B2 means maxillary. Oropharynx IX means glossopharyngeal. And the laryngopharynx sensory via the branch of the vagus, that is the internal laryngeal nerve. Clear? Huh? Nerve supply, innervation. Is it clear? Yes or no? Now the blood supply. Arterial supply, it is derived from the ascending pharyngeal artery. Ascending pharyngeal artery. Then ascending palatine and tonsillar branches of the facial artery, greater palatine pharyngeal and the pterygoid branches of the maxillary artery, and the dorsal lingual branch of the lingual artery. The main arterial supply is the ascending pharyngeal artery. Ascending pharyngeal artery. Ascending palatine and the tonsillar branches of the facial artery, greater palatine pharyngeal and the pterygoid branches of the maxillary artery, and the dorsal lingual branches of the lingual artery. Venous drainage. It drains in the pharyngeal venous plexus. Drains in the pharyngeal venous plexus, and this pharyngeal venous plexus drain into the internal jugular vein. Lymphatic drainage. It drains in the deep cervical lymph nodes. Deep cervical lymph nodes. deep cervical lymph nodes. Venous drainage, pharyngeal venous plexus, lymphatic drainage in the deep cervical lymph nodes. Clinical applications, adenoids you know, otitis media also you know, tonsillitis, tonsillectomy we have studied previously in the respiratory system. Peritonsillar abscess or the quinsy, you know that. That is the complications of the tonsillitis, which consists of the pus around the tonsil. Around the tonsil. So it is named as the peritonsillar abscess or the quinsy. That is the collections of the fluid at the periphery of the tonsil. That condition it is called as the quinsy or the peritonsillar abscess. You know the importance of the piriform fossa. That is a common site for the lodging of the foreign bodies. Now, what is pharyngeal pouch? See, pharyngeal pouch are also called as the Jenker's diverticulum. Sometimes it may be asked, write short notes on the Jenker's diverticulum. So, what is Jenker's diverticulum or the pharyngeal pouch? So, you know that what is Killian's of dehiscence? Killian's dehiscence. That is the weak part in between the weakest part in between the thyropharynges and the cricopharynges. It is named as the Killian dehiscence. So that is the weakest part. So in neuromuscular incoordinations, the interior pressure of the pharynx it becomes increased, and there is the formations of the mucosal diverticulum. There is the formations of the mucosal diverticulum, and that mucosal diverticulum it herniates posteromedially from the Killians of dehiscence, and it and you know the pharynx is the continuation. Pharynx continues downward as the esophagus. So posterior medially there is a Zenker's diverticulum. That Zenker's diverticulum will press the or will compress the esophagus, which results in the dysphagia. And it is mainly occurred in the older people. Dysphagia means difficulty in swallowing. Understood what is Zenker's diverticulum? Zenker's diverticulum. The mucus herniations of the mucus diverticulum posteromedially, and it presses the esophagus, upper part of the esophagus, leading to the dysphagia. That condition it is called as the Zenker's diverticulum or the pharyngeal pouch. Pharyngeal pouch or the Zenker's diverticulum. And the retropharyngeal abscess, as it is continuous with the superior mediastinum, it may spread up to the superior mediastinum. Thank you. Understood? Any question?